Hello everybody and welcome. It is the NBL1 Show, rivalry round in the books, and one team for the first time this year has clinched a playoff spot, and it just happens to be the team that I said would win the championship in the pre-season. So that makes me happy. I'm Cameron Luke, Liam Santamaria. Hello to you.
Hello.
And we're joined by the superstar from the Nunawading Specters as well, who had a huge win on the weekend over the arch rivals Melbourne Tigers. Dain Swetalla, welcome.
Thank you much.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Appreciate it, guys.
You have been having a great season. The team, yourself, individually. How do you feel about the sort of first two-thirds of the season so far?
It's coming into the season, we had obviously, and you guys have touched on it quite a bit, a big if, an asterisk kind of next to all of our team with all the 3-on-3 obligations and, coaching certain players coming in and out. But we have consistent anchors on our team. We have an extension of coach, in Shane, that even if coach isn't there, you have that floor general to make sure that things are always ran accordingly. And, despite a few nicks and injuries there, he finds a way to always make himself reliable and available. Same thing with Simon Khan. Everybody touches on it. Nobody understands it. He's timeless. It's no matter how much you try to train, prep for it, his success and what he does in a game each day is it's so difficult to defend at this level. And he's so intelligent as a player, and he knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses, and he's never gets out of his element, out of his zone. And
just on that, because I think Liam did actually, as we look at some of the highlights, and I think predicted you to win the championship at the start of the year, and I spoke about that 3x3 and the fact you've got a couple of guys going to miss the next couple of weeks as well through that. They're the representative of Australia. It's a big block.
He's having a great season.
A big year. Sometimes it can knock around your confidence when you miss key players, and we see a little bit in the women's side of it as well, probably more so, in fact. But when you've got the team like you have, and you speak about Simon or you speak about Shane, and the confidence would never get rattled because you know exactly that when you roll in training or games, double headers, that even if you're down on personnel, you know exactly what you're doing. You're a veteran team. You've been dubbed the San Antonio Spurs of the NBL1 a little bit on social media.
Not by Cam.
No.
Without you here, he's not saying these kind of things about the Specters. But go ahead, Cam.
Well, I'm actually going to pick Nunawading to win it now because Dane's the first person we've had on the show who says he watches the show. So that's an automatically win.
Yeah.
But your confidence can't be shaken, I guess, and it's proven in the way you've had your first 10-3 in the first 13 games.
Yeah, the Spurs have that next man up philosophy, and it's the same with us. And we've got a few guys on our team that are so underappreciated and undervalued, and guys that step up in big games. And one of the biggest ones is Costas. He is an absolute. He's probably on the bottom 4 or 5 on anybody's scouting report. But the things he does every game, the energy plays, the 50-50 balls, the defensive efforts, rotation, scrambles, he's that one guy that just sets a tone and basically that kind of alpha mentality as a defender. And he's just got one of those infectious personalities, that infectious energy, and everybody just feeds off it. And then big ups to guys like Luke Van Ryan, coming in, not really playing many minutes, but with a lot of guys being out and some injuries over the past 2 weeks at Aubrey and then at home versus Melbourne. Stepping in, going 7-10 from 3 over his last 2 games, 100% from the floor down there. And it's one of the things that we got as a weapon is we got a lot of guys hungry and ready. And when their number's called and when their time comes up, nobody's afraid to produce and nobody's afraid of kind of the moment out there. So, while we do have guys out, we got a lot of weapons that are in the back waiting.
I spoke about the great season you're having. You're averaging 20 and 10, shooting the piss out of it from long range. We saw you swatting shots away. I mean, how are you feeling about your season in particular? But I also want to ask you about, you've been at Nunawading for a couple of years now. The chemistry, obviously playing with Shaney Mack is great. Everyone loves playing with Shaney Mack. But the chemistry with you and Simon, the Twin Towers, what do you enjoy about playing alongside him in terms of how it impacts on your game?
I always know where he's going to be on the floor at any point in time. And that's one of the biggest things with our success of rotation and spacing. And a lot of people think that we're structured like the Spurs in terms of, we run all these, different plays and sets. We have so much freedom. And Dave is a lot of people think Dave is a structured coach. He is all about freedom and creativity and guys just making plays and reads. And when we've got a lot of smart veteran players that know everybody's strengths and weakness and we know where positions are going to be, it's easy. I get it in the post, and if you double, I know exactly where Simon is at that mid post. And no matter how you try to prep for it, scout for it, he finds a way to just find his angles, spacing shooters and, knowing where Shane's always looking. And it comes easy.
You guys fell a little short last season. How do you rate your chances Now you're sitting second. We've won 6 in a row. You've managed to, as you say, handle all the comings and goings within the roster. Some injuries as well at times. We'll talk about you in a second. How do you rate? You've seen Ballarat, Geelong, Kilsyth, these other teams. How do you rate your chances from here on out?
It's tough to predict because with the NBL commitments and tours and preseasons and who's obviously going to leave, like we talked about the Sandringham team, that the team we played is not the team that was on the floor last week. Basically 5 different starters. And, we are extremely confident in what we do and what we have on the courts and the guys in the locker room and the leadership basically from top to bottom. If we go out every game and do what we know that we're capable of, we don't believe that anybody can beat us. I mean, obviously, truth be told, people have, and you have off games, but when we take care of what we're supposed to take care of, I'm definitely confident that we're the best team in the league.
Who have beaten you? You lost the 3 games. Who have beaten you this year?
We dropped Frankston. We dropped Knox.
Knox, they had no. You guys had no one on.
We had a lot of injuries. Shane was out. I was out. 2 guys gone with 3-on-3. Frankston was kind of the same. A lot of kind of injuries from that, and then last one was Ballarat.
Yeah.
In the Ballarat game, they beat us. They outplayed us. But looking back through it, you dissect the film and you look at things that you might have made mistakes on, and there's still confidence in it.
I think I asked every single player who has been around for a little while on this show every week, but I've obviously been here for a couple of years now, SABL and NBL1, the introduction of it this year, and it just seems to be, for people where Liam might sit in the stands, how much excitement around it. We're hearing big names, both the men's and women's programs. Do you notice that within the actual league and the difference between where it was last year compared to the NBL1 and the rebranding?
Yes. As a player, it feels a little bit special this year. Shows like this, having something to talk about the league and the highlights they could put up. The replayers where players are able to, kind of see themselves, share elements with it, and then the NBL guys that are, taking legitimate opportunities to come down and play. But it also gives a lot of, hungry players that chance to, if you're going to send 5, 6 NBL guys, down, well, people go back against them just as hard just to prove their point, prove themselves. So credit to the NBL for, what they've done with the league this far. And I hear nothing but good things are in the future for it. So, extremely exciting.
Big weekend coming up for you guys. You play Kilsyth and Waverley. You got a little hurt on the last weekend. Are you going to be right to go?
Yeah.
Where you at?
It's kind of a day-by-day thing. Took a hard shot kind of in the back of the ribs just during a defensive play. So it kind of took me out for the rest of the game. Just had to do some precautionary things. But I got checkup on Friday. And then it's just going to be just kind of a day-by-day thing and assess it and see how it goes.
Right.
So.
Big. Hear me in or out against Kilsyth. Massive.
And a big game as well, going on the road, or not that it's too far down the road, but going in Kilsyth's home court as well. And they're those team, and they started so particularly well, and they've been on an interesting roller coaster. They had a win on the weekend, but a win over them this weekend gives you more breathing space. The top 4 compared to the bottom 4 in the top 8, and they're one of those teams that are jostling. So it is a huge game in the, really in the way that the second half of the year gets set up for you and the Kilsyth.
Oh, and Waverley are tough.
Yes, that's true as well.
7-5, they're no pushover.
Yeah, you guys were talking earlier. You didn't give them much credit, and then kind of had a mention about it. And they're a team that you can't take lightly. So,
let's hope you're good to go.
Just quickly, I don't know how much you seen of last weekend, but it was a ripping contest. And a rivalry round is something that is fun in any code and any sport around the world. And you probably don't, growing up, have that whole Melbourne v Nunawading thing that Liam and I spoke about last week. But do you feel that a little bit when you roll in a rivalry round, you're playing the Tigers?
Do you know what he felt? He felt you talking about Dain Swetalla as the MVP of the season. He was like, I'm going to push this guy around a little. Yeah,
and you told me, and of course Paz, who has been on the show as well, so he automatically becomes one of our favourites, but you told me Dain Swetalla wasn't even the MVP on the team yet. Without Dain playing fairly well
and no disrespect to Dain.
He kept not at all.
No, he's been playing great.
And I'm not disrespecting Paz, but simply without Dain in the way that he played on Saturday night, you probably have a little easier win.
He was huge, 22, 15 and 6 steals.
And you know what I call that? Regulation for Dain Swetalla. Head by I had him as the MVP.
He is a serious athlete. He's a serious player.
Who is the MVP of the league at this point?
It's one of those things I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently on behalf of it. I haven't seen enough guys to really...
Was it Dain that gave you the cheapie, was it, in the rebounding tussle?
Say again?
In the rib? Was it Dain that gave you the...
was it? It was... I can't remember his name.
Little guy?
It was a little guy in the point guard going up for a contest. And
if it's not you and it's not Simon Cond, you're both putting up massive numbers, having a big impact.
Yeah.
Who would you tip your hat to if you were given a vote?
I can't.
Come on,
I can't make
this is not a
You're playing
fence-sitting
against these
show.
guys.
It's I'm playing
I
against.
called up Coach Berg. I said, is he going to come in here and sit on the fence? He said, no, he'll give you some.
I reckon MVP should come from the team that's got one of the best records and from the team that's playing well. So you can look at somebody that's performing on Ballarat, somebody that's performing on Nunawading. Geelong has got some monsters that are playing unbelievably well. You know, guys like Gatlin, he goes out there night in and night out and gets it done.
Jerry Evans Jr.
Yeah, Jerry Evans Jr. He's a great dude. I had some good battles with him when he was at Sandringham. Awesome guy. Really got to know him well. So, I hope he gets another shot in the league. Kwani, same thing. They're just there's a lot of some serious talent, and if it comes down to refs and officials' votes at the end of every game, I'm not sure.
Could go anywhere.
Yeah, it really.
Very
I got
well
no
answered.
idea.
All right, Southern and
Would you get any votes from the refs?
I would think so. I'm one of the only ones that knows them by their first name, so
Hey.
that's.
Do you go out of
tactic.
your way to learn their first names and address them?
It's one of the things that's just I learned at a young age. Just kind of things about just little bits about respect, and they go out every game and guys are always berating them and nobody even knows the name, and then you get into arguments with people and you wonder why you can't have a discussion with somebody that you don't even know by their first name. So it's always just been kind of a point of mine to make sure you know them by a first name basis. So instead of hey ref, you can call out Chris, you can call out Aiden, you can call out somebody else's name and actually get a better discussion with them. So
maybe that's what we should have done.
Love that.
Rather than get tech fouls and tech
That's what we should have done. I love that.
Southern, a remarkable night over the course of the weekend.
Yes.
The women win on the buzzer, and it was a double overtime in the men. I think we've got some highlights. We might start with the men. It was a double night for Southern as we look here, actually at Dandenong rather. And
we're used to seeing these wild nights in Frankston.
yes.
That's a hell of a finish.
It was. It
Dave
happened in
Barlow down
Dandenong, in Southern. It was a really good win, double overtime, 138 to 130, 268 points scored in this game. Great to see.
Play basketball should be.
Great to see Matt Kenyon put up a big line.
Yes.
Was waiting for a breakout game from him. 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 steals, but it wasn't enough in OT. A huge comeback.
Yeah.
By Dandenong late in this one. Barlow, massive line, 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 steals. And
This shot.
great game from Nicholas Gapp, 32 points. Sam McDaniel had a nice line as well. And they got a good win. They're still on the bottom of the ladder, 3-10. But boy, if that's the team that's on the bottom of the ladder, then you've got yourself a league.
If you look at it, and you mentioned it, Southern on the bottom, and they're not a fun team to play against because they've got a lot more soldiers now than they did. I think you mentioned earlier off air that you played them when they were a little bit down on players. Ringwood are 4 and 9 second last, but they've got those two, in particular, two American guards who can just put up
They look like they were a playoff team 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Great start, and they put up huge numbers, of course. Eltham, who are been at different times hard to stop as well, and Sykes again in the highlight reel. Albury-Wodonga had some injury worries. Brad Chalmers during the week said they haven't really played all that well, and you just continue to work through. It's never fun going to Hobart because they have that home court advantage, and then Knox, who last week I said were probably the biggest disappointment of the league, mainly because of the roster they've got. It's a league where every single night is tricky, even if their record doesn't suggest they've had a good year.
Yeah.
That's why I think Frankston will make the grand final.
That's a big call.
Yeah.
They had a good win.
They did.
Big win, actually.
They did.
Fantastic.
That's a big
Sorry,
call.
did we miss the women's game winner?
Yeah, can we throw that one
My
up?
apologies. There we go. Now, this play, you know it at all,
Talk
Dane?
us through it.
We run a very similar play like that. You screen your best shooter coming off to the corner. And if that big has to bump or hedge at all, you just basically reverse post and you look over the top. We run, anybody that scouted us know we run that play about 4 or 5 times a game looking for Simon. And we get a pretty good success rate on it. So if you got a big that's good at working position and you got a shooter running that corner, I mean, it's just, you got to take away one of them. So just credit to them. It's a good play. It works.
I'm not sure if it's just a massive coincidence or there's more exposure, as you touched on with the NBL doing a wonderful job in shows like this and the YouTube channel and all the great social work around the NBL1. But there seems to be 10, 12, 15 highlights every single weekend. Now, we know there's a lot of games with the 18 teams in both the men's and the women's, but there seems to be stuff like this happening on the regular, and that just leads and fuels the excitement of the NBL1.
Yeah, well, she had 21 and 7 to go along with that game winner, Badish, and that was a great game by her. And Dandenong, no bet Cole, 4th straight loss now. They've slipped to 7th. Clonetta and Clydesdale doing everything they could to kind of lift that team. Boy, it would have been big for them to just get over the line and stop the losing streak and hold fort and they weren't quite able to get it done.
I had Beck Cole as my women's MVP a couple of weeks ago, and you questioned me on it. This continues to solidify my point that she's the most valuable player in the league.
And I said, I agree with you that she is. She just won't win it.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I know. There was a terminology. There was a question miscommunication when we got the WhatsApp group. All right. Hey, I tell you this. I did suggest that the Geelong women would win the women's NBL1 this year, and they are the first team to clinch a playoff spot after a win over Ballarat on the weekend, which isn't overly surprising because they've now won 12 in a row, and the Rush haven't had, although their last month has been a lot better, haven't had a great deal of success. But this Geelong team, are they the clear favourites now for the title? You've still got Bendigo.
They are the clear favourites. They have shown that. Look, Bendigo just quietly, they've still only lost that one game.
Unbelievable.
All right, and they smashed them when they played them. McBeggar and Shelley and Bourne, they got the job done, but they are still playing well. But Geelong are definitely the favourites. My question to you, Cam.
Yes.
Are they going to lose the game the rest of the way?
Yeah, so I've got one major concern for Geelong right now, and I'm not sure if you know this, Dain, but when they did beat Bendigo, it was a Sunday afternoon game, and Bendigo were undefeated, and Dave Herbert and the coaching staff of Geelong actually put up Liam's comments on the whiteboard prior to the game to fire the girls up.
This story just gets better and better.
Is this not true?
What were Liam's comments?
One, he probably just mentioned it in passing. Now he's got it up on the whiteboard.
It was on the whiteboard.
Okay.
So I'm just worried, because you've been actually relatively nice to them. I'm not sure if when they play the return game at Geelong, how he's going to fire the girls up to reach that intensity they did when Bendigo win. So that's the only thing that concerns me.
I think the fact that it'll be a massive game and it'll be top spot on the line will be enough. Just
I think they will lose another game. They will lose a game at some point, but I still think they'll win the championship.
Well, why will they lose another game?
Because I think Bendigo will come in and...
Oh, you think Bendigo will win that game?
I think Bendigo will get them in Geelong.
Okay.
And I don't think it'll be the worst thing in the world.
Coming up?
I don't know. I hope they play against each other again. I haven't seen the fixture. It isn't in the next couple of weeks. Do you see much... we talk about your 10 and 3. The Nunawading women are 9 and 4. Do you watch much of the women's games? Do you get to the games, obviously they're early preparing, but how much of it do you see and how they go, and tell us a little more about it?
We see enough about it, and then Coach Flynn, runs a basketball academy with him, so I talk to him on a daily basis just about, coaching styles and what's kind of going on with his girls and how they play. And one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is whether I'm in the gym at 6 in the morning training kids or running an academy, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 girls in there.
Who? D'Angelo, Antoniadu.
D'Angelo, Pizzy, Antoniadu, Rachel Brewster. Any of those girls that don't work full-time jobs, they treat it like a professional job. And they're in there working on their game and working on their craft. And it's a testament to the fact that their average age is about 20 years old, but still the fact that every single woman is hungry, to compete, not just to get an NBL job or, or NBL1 job or minutes, but to get to that WNBL level. And it's that work energy and that kind of passion for the game is infectious. And when you got your youngest players, you always keep kind of the older ones in check, just to make sure that they're not going to get outworked. And that's one of the best things with our level too is we got our young guys that push us every single day in training. That's some of our older guys. We can't get complacent. So
Maddie Garrett coming in,
huge,
massive weapon. Yeah, that's an unbelievable pickup. Flynn and Maddie Garrett got a relationship going back, obviously just from youth coaching throughout the years and national team levels or state Vic teams. And when she became available, and Nunawading was credit to the front office staff and the sponsors who've come along to make sure that she was able to get picked up. That is a hell of a pickup.
That team could do some damage down the stretch. Maddie Garrett comes in and it all fits. That backcourt, I mean, D'Angelo and Antoniadu, both really good players. Kathleen Shear is a problem down low.
She is.
They have some weapons.
Well, Kilsyth won 8 in a row, obviously after a 1-4 start, and Nicholson's going nuts. And of course, so much of their success is based around when she does play. And they play each other this Saturday night, of course, the curtain raiser, the one before you. So that's going to be a huge Saturday night game. It is
a huge game because remember last week, it's huge for Nunawading who are trying, and they won't have Maddie in that game. So if they, I spoke about it with Kilsyth. They have a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, they do.
Took care of business against the Raiders. Lauren Nicholson went off, as you say. What did she put up?
39 and 10.
39 and 10.
Jesus.
The superstar for the Cobras. Now, they need to back that up with a win at home again against the Specters. If they can get through these 2 games, now they're rolling and they'll be 10 and 4 and they'll be almost, they're Actually, that's a bit of a logjam right there, but it gives them a little bit of separation and a bit of breathing space in that top 4, with still a bunch of tough games to come against Dandenong, with Bet Cole, against Knox again, against, I think they play Nunawading a second time. So a bunch of tough games coming up. This is a big one.
Keeping in mind how good Knox were going. You and I commentated a Knox game about 3 or 4 weeks ago. This team was...
I smacked them.
If not the hottest team, they were one of there, and there's a lot of those. You mentioned the logjam. A lot of that, 5, 6 top women's side right now are starting to play their best basketball, and they did. They smacked around a Knox team at home, which
kept Lauren Scherf under control.
Which is very, very hard to do. She's come off a 36 and 26 game a week before, so she's obviously in fine form. All right, what are you looking forward to this weekend, mate?
A couple of quick shout-outs from last week. We've missed a few people along the way.
Okay.
What about my man Paul Campbell?
Your man?
Well, I'm claiming him.
Tell us a little about PC.
Well, he's playing as a local now.
Yeah, well, it helps.
He's playing in his 30s now. 21 points.
Yep.
21 rebounds and 6 blocks in, obviously, that big rivalry cross-state matchup in a big win over Hobart. That was huge.
I think it snowed outside.
I liked the weekend from Rains. Kadarian Rains, we haven't quite established. We should, as professionals, we should probably work that out.
Credit to him. I mean, playing against him at Knox, watching a guy like that, what he's capable of. He's an NBL level talent. He has that ability, that athleticism, and he's got that skill, and he is a problem down on the block.
Well, we're looking for 20 and 10.
We are.
We think he should be averaging 20 and 10 in this league. You are.
Yep.
Simon there are a few guys that are at the top of the league that do that, and that's where he belongs. And he came out and had, what did he have? 19 and 7 in the loss to Kilsyth, 13 and 18 in the win over Eltham up against Big Josh Sykes. So I liked his. It's not 20 and 10, but he was stamping his authority on those games.
I was actually, and I did this game, and I know you probably didn't see it, Dain, you're probably playing, but we spoke about the fact that, I couldn't believe how big and athletic he is. I hadn't seen a great deal of him live, and when I got to this game, it was Knox and Diamond Valley a month ago, I was really surprised that his numbers didn't reflect what I think they should, and we speak about that 20 and 10. Now, I'm not sure if there's, they've been a little bit disappointing in different ways, but I don't know if he needs a ball more in the I don't know, but he is an athletic, you touch on, he's an athletic beast.
It's kind of one of those guys you can't tell. When you look at a guy like, Turner, a Bendigo type player, his activity, off the ball is something that you always got to keep in mind. Kind of Rains is one of those guys that he catches it on the block. He is a one-on-one threat, but I think he's kind of one of those. If you can, kind of scout, he was one that we had to make sure that we were containing as a one-on-one. But if he gets his activity level up, kind of off the ball, just always, kind of his movement, his cuts. He's a guy that will get looked at just based on his physical presence.
Huge shout out to the Diamond Valley girls.
Yes.
Broke the streak, got the rivalry win over Eltham. Big congratulations to them. Great to kind of get that monkey off the back, and now they can just go about. Reminds me of the Cairns Taipans in the NBL last season. They lost 14 straight. Diamond Valley's was 11, I think, or 11 in a row. Yeah. But from there, once they got over the hump, and Arnold Maley actually made a comment. I think we kind of forgot how to win there for a little while. You get that feeling back. Now they can go about being serious spoilers the rest of the way. 27 and 16 from her, and having Alex Wilson back in the lineup, healthy, playing well. 13, 6 and 7. She's getting better and better each week. So great to see them get a W.
And big effort. Last shot for Eltham in that game. And not letting Chelsea Swears, who had 39, of course, favourite of NBL1 here, couldn't get the ball to her. So down the stretch, you talk about learning how to win and having to deal with big moments. Huge opportunity. Young woman's got 39 on the opposition and they couldn't get it to her, so that's a big thing.
And Schweers went and had 27 again the next day in the loss to Knox.
I see that big smile on your face after you called. I don't know if you've watched all year, but he just rained on Eltham women's at the start of the year because of strength of schedule. So every time they drop a couple, easily... He gets a little more excited inside, Liam.
That's not true. That's not true. Cherie Richards from Frankston, 26 and 12. That was a good win for them over the COE. And what was the other thing I wanted to shout out?
Dain Pinot, 22, 15 and 6. Do you want to mention that? No, fair enough.
No, I've lost it.
Doyle, 32. Even though a loss for Eltham against Knox on Sunday, but he played well as well. He's had a pretty good year, actually. You lost it? No more shout-outs?
No, that'll do.
Okay, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Outside, of course, and Kilsyth and Nunawading.
Yeah, well, Kilsyth and Nunawading, obviously, in the men and the women. We touched on that. Huge games. I'm excited about Dandenong versus Frankston in the women on the Saturday night because Dandenong, again, no Beck Cole. They need to get a win without her. They've slipped to 7th, as I mentioned before. And Frankson coming in off that victory over the COE. They have, they're hungry, right? Sheree Richards is playing well. Steph Reid, we know, is having a great season. They are hungry. They're right on the edge there at 6 and 8. They're at 11th. They need to get moving right now if they're going to knock down, someone like Eltham maybe to get that 8th spot. So that's one to keep an eye on. I remember what I was going to say. We had the heat on Diamond Valley. You put the heat on Kilsyth to turn things around in the men. I'm putting the heat on Eltham in the men and the women.
Okay.
Because they went 0-2 on both sides of the league this week, and they were the only team to go 0-2 across both. So the men are
dropped to 16th.
They've dropped to 16th, 5
So you're putting the heat on them?
I'm putting the heat on them.
Yeah. Heat's on them.
16th?
No,
not on?
I tell you why I'm putting it on them, because they play Ringwood. It's a bit of a sort of eastern suburbs rivalry again this week. At home, Ringwood's tough in the women, but that's a type of team they're going to need to beat down the stretch if they're going to make the finals. It's 16th versus 17th in the men. I want to see Eltham get a couple of wins this week.
I'll tell you this, if you are as well, and we do occasionally put the heat on some people, if you do, and I did it to Kilsyth last week, if you're going to call us out on social media giving us a spray, which Felix Wonhoff did during the week.
Oh, yeah.
Because he went on a 21-0 run. He's like, check the highlights. He had 2 points in the 21-0 run and had 7 for the game.
It's a team, mate.
If you're going to...
No, it's a team.
I think he was pointing to his own because he had he actually linked me his uncontested layup he had as part of the 21-0 run. If you're going to have a crack at us on social media, which is all fun and games of sport and what we do, make sure you bring in something a little more than an uncontested layup and 7 points on the
Man, Felix is the man. Talk your trash. Talk your trash, Felix.
Well, you'll be talking to him on the weekend, mate, so enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for coming in, mate.
Yeah,
great,
appreciate
as
it.
always, great job for you and
Thank you guys.
first 13
Thank you
games.
very much.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at NBL1, YouTube, of course, Game of the Week this week, I think, is Bendigo and Ballarat. So we talked about rivalry round last weekend. 2 regional Victoria teams that, from juniors all the way up, have gone at it and, I won't say hatred, but heated battles over the years. So looking forward to that one as well. At NBL1 to keep in touch. We will see you next week.